So we're going to go ahead and call the Regional Planning Commission meeting to order. It is April 28th, 2026, and we're going to go ahead and lead with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I see we have a full house. We're going to go ahead and see if we have a motion for the minutes. Anybody look at the minutes for March 24th?
I make a motion for approval.
I got a motion.
Second.
I have a motion properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Okay, any announcements on deferrals?
No, with the new consent agenda, the deferrals will be included in the consent agenda,
Okay.
with the exception of, under the zoning cases, number 17 on the agenda, Z6 2026, application of William Ballou for AG to R1 on Needmore Road is recommended for a 1-month deferral. Is that the only one?
There is the Mr. McGraw, the county season.
Okay. And then, though not marked in your agenda, we do have it requested by the applicant for CZ4 2026, application of Billy McGraw for AG to C5 on Rossview Road. Offer those both up for deferral for 1 month. Need a motion, please.
Okay, got a motion properly second. All in favor? Thank you, motion carries. All righty, we've got some upcoming zoning meetings and times. If you have an agenda, you can see those in there. It's got the City Council informal on April 30th at 4:30. We got City Council public hearing and first readings May 7th. We have County Commission public meeting May 4th at 6 p.m. And we also got the formal meeting May 11th at 6 p.m. Now we're going to move to the consent agenda.
Thank you, Chairwoman. All items in this portion of the agenda are to be considered routine and non-controversial by the staff of the Regional Planning Commission and may be approved by one motion. However, a member of the audience, commission, or staff may request that an item be removed for separate consideration. We'll read these into the record and then see if anyone's here to pull things from the consent agenda. If it's not pulled from the consent agenda, it'll be approved with conditions or deferred per Mr. Parker's report here. I'll turn it over to Mr. Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Tyndall. Our first case on the consent agenda is case number S18.
Hold on, do we have?
No, we'll read them first.
Okay, I'll start over. Case number S18, 2026. The request is for preliminary plat approval of Kessler Estates Cluster. The zoning is R1, 10 lots are proposed, and the recommendation is for deferral. Case number S19, 2026. The request is for preliminary plat approval of Swift Drive subdivision. The zoning is R2A, 8 lots proposed, and the staff recommendation is for approval subject to the conditions listed. Case number S20, 2026. The request is for preliminary plat approval of Gold Landing, Section 2. The property is zoned R3. And the number of proposed lots is 69. Staff recommendation is for approval subject to the conditions listed. Case number SR 87, 2025. The development's 2265 Trenton Road mixed use. The zoning is C5. The proposed use is retail and multifamily, and the recommendation is for deferral. Case number SR 9, 2026, Banner at Ajax. The proposed use is apartments. The zoning is R4, and the recommendation is for deferral. Case number SR 11, 2026, the development is CFA 06163 Fort Campbell. The proposed use is commercial restaurant. The zoning is C5, and the staff recommendation is for approval subject to the conditions listed. Case number SR 30. The development's called 1662 Golf Club Lane. The proposed use is professional office. Zoning is OP office, and the staff recommendation is for approval subject to the conditions listed. Case number SR 33, 2026. Development is Full Gospel Church. Zoning is R1. Staff recommendation is for approval subject to the conditions listed. Case number SR 34, 2026. The development is Black Dog Storage. Proposed use is warehouse. C2 commercial is the zoning, and the staff recommendation is for approval, subject to the conditions listed. Case number SR 36, 2026. Development is called the warehouse. The proposed use is retail and office. The zoning is CBD, Central Business District. Staff recommendation is for approval, subject to the conditions listed. Case number SR 37, 2026. The development is called Long John Silver's, Tiny Town Road. Proposed use is restaurant. Zoning is C5, highway, arterial, and commercial. Staff recommendation is for approval, subject to the conditions listed. SR 38, 2026. The development is CarMax, Clarksville. The proposed use is used auto sales. Zoning is C5, highway and arterial commercial. And staff recommendation is for approval, subject to the conditions listed. Case number SR 39, 2026. Development is McCoy Group, Clarksville. The proposed use is heavy equipment dealer, zone C5. Staff recommendation is for approval, subject to the conditions listed. And finally, case number SR 40, 2026. The development is River Road Commercial. Proposed use is a contractor's building, zone C2, general commercial district. And the staff recommendation is for approval, subject to the conditions listed. Thank you.
All right, commissioners, you heard the list of items. Do any of you need to remove any of those from the consent agenda? All right, is there anyone from the public who needs to remove any of these from consent agenda for individual hearings? Show of hands. All right, Madam Chairman, we'll consider the consent agenda as read, and we'll just need a motion on the consent agenda.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Make a motion for approval on the consent agenda with conditions proposed.
Second.
I have a motion properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that motion has passed.
Believe that. That's good stuff. This is where you read your little zoning.
So I'm gonna go ahead and give some preemptive. This portion of the agenda is for zone change application. We will conduct the hearing for the remaining cases today on the agenda. For each of the cases, we'll allow up to 3 speakers to speak in favor and 3 speakers that speak against or oppose. And then each will have 3 minutes. And then there will be an opportunity for rebuttal if necessary. That will also be for 3 minutes. Please keep in mind, any votes today are on the zoning commission, zoning applications, or for recommendations. If you want to follow through with the recommendations that we send, please go to the city council or county commissioner meetings that I stated earlier, so you can follow through with your application and see if there's any changes there. But we are just the recommendations. So thank you for your patience with us.
Okay, with that said, commissioners, under the city zoning tab, you have your first zoning case for the month. It is Z57 2025. It is CGH Properties. It's presently zoned R1, proposed to go to C1. It's at 1182 Rossview Road. There's was currently a single-family residential lot. It is in the St. Bethlehem planning area. And the reason for the request, as stated by the applicant, is rezoning this lot for a neighborhood commercial to serve neighborhood and nearby residents. You'll see the department comments received in reference to this application. They've stated no gravity sewers available, would be force main only. The city street department stated it's below the threshold for a traffic assessment, and the access would be determined by ordinance, which is one access on Dunbar Cave Road. See no other department comments of any specific concern. The request, as stated, is in the St. Bethlehem planning area. Future land use is neighborhood commercial. The staff's recommendation is for approval. The request is consistent with the overall goals and objectives of the adopted Clarksville-Montgomery County Comprehensive Plan. The parcel is designated neighborhood commercial on the adopted land use opinion map. This designation is intended to serve surrounding residents by providing small-scale neighborhood-oriented goods and services, and the proposed C1 neighborhood commercial zoning designation aligns with the future land use designation identified by this parcel. You have 2 zoning maps showing the aerials and the zoomed-in copy of the property in question. You have a future land use opinion map and the current zoning for the area. You do have some comments that were received in reference to this application. They're shown there on page, I believe, 9 and 10. If this is familiar to you, this was here roughly 3 months ago, originally proposed as R3, and it was remanded back at the city council to consider a different zone, and at this point in time, the applicant has changed to C1. So if you have any questions for myself or the staff, I'll be more than happy to try to answer them for you.
Are there any questions? Okay, do we have anybody in the audience that have support this zoning?
Good afternoon, Grayson Smith, 226 Colum Way. Just here to answer any questions y'all may have.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Is there anybody else? Is there anybody in opposition to Z57 2025? Okay. So I guess we,
Ask for a motion or any questions?
okay, if I can get any motions or any questions from you all? Can I get a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
I have a motion properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Commissioners, your next application is Z2 2026.
Question.
It's the application of Infinity Investments LLC. The request is to go from R1 Single Family Residential to R3 Three Family Residential for a property located on the western frontage of 7 Mile Ferry Road, approximately 1,450 feet south of the intersection with Pumping Station Road. It's a tract with areas of steep to moderate topography and is currently wooded. It is in the South Clarksville planning area. The applicant's statement for proposed use is to provide affordable housing on this property. The extra density will help with some topographical challenges on this property, would be an extension of the existing R3 zones immediately east and west of this lot. This would connect the two R3 areas. Again, that's the applicant's statement. Department comments have stated there's no gravity sewer and a possible off-site lift station upgrades would be required. The Clarksville Street Department indicated a traffic assessment was required due to the proposed zoning acreage received and in compliance with the traffic study guidelines. The report is available for additional details. The impact would be increased residential density. Residential development estimates by the applicant is 74 units. Historic is 100 units. That is likely, the historic yield's likely high due to the topography. Again, it is in the South Clarksville planning area. Future land use designation is suburban neighborhood, and as previously presented, the staff's recommendation is for disapproval. This request is inconsistent with the overall goals and objectives of the adopted Clarksville-Montgomery County Comprehensive Plan. Future land use opinion map designates these parcels as suburban neighborhood. Large areas of R3 moderate density residential within this designation do not fully reflect the intended development pattern for the area. The South Clarksville planted area and the growth and development framework section of the Clarksville-Montgomery County Comprehensive Plan discourage development on steep slopes due to increased risk of erosion, higher construction costs, and other safety factors. Access to this site is limited to the intersection at Ashland City Road and the 41A bypass, which serves as its sole connection to the major street network. The submitted traffic assessment identifies PORS level of service E condition at the southbound approach. This negatively contributes to the associated traffic safety concerns. In addition to the above referenced traffic safety and levels of service concerns, the road serving the site, 7 Mile Ferry Road, is described as substandard at 16 foot wide. The road is adjacent to areas of steep topography, which makes improvements such as widening sidewalks, etc., difficult to construct. Additional study and assessments are necessary to determine the feasibility of the required improvements. Page 14 and 15 of the aerial overviews in reference to this request. Page 16 is the future land use designation of the properties in question. And then you have the floodway map, and then the current zoning map. You do have some comments and emails in reference to this application in opposition. They're provided there through page 24. I will add that there is an update that was shared with us from the applicant that they have placed or was placing under contract the property to the north. That would move a potential connection on North 7 Mile Ferry Road, further north on North 7 Mile Ferry Road. That portion is wider than the southern portion, but it still does not alleviate the overall connection to the major street network at the bypass. If you have any questions about this application, I'll be more than happy to answer them for you.
Commissioners, do we have any questions?
How many lots can you get as it's currently zoned?
Go back through here. Historically, as Mr. Tyndall just stated, would be around 40 units. That number, the topography would obviously lower that number more. So, I mean, we'll go with that number at 40 because I don't have the layout or how they plan to grade and address the road network and things to accommodate a future subdivision at this point.
But even mentioning the topography with R1, they would be able to cluster it, couldn't they, to still get the full amount?
No, your density's capped based on your overall zoning classification. So,
Yeah, I understand that. That was what I was saying. You said it would depend because of the topography. That 40 would be high because of the topography.
yes, but there's a lot of grade and cutting and things of that nature that I don't know that I'm capable of doing just by looking at a map. That'd be a fair question for their engineer if they've done that evaluation. But this is, shall I say, an encumbered piece of property. So it's beyond what the average is for topography.
Okay.
And that's what the historic estimate is normally based on, is average pieces of property.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? If there's no more, we're going to go ahead and move into public hearing. Is there anybody who's in favor of ordinance Z2 2026? And if you can give your name and address, please, and thank you, sir.
Commission, hello. My name's Ricky Rita. I'm at 1820 Memorial Circle, Rita Homes, Infinity, Paleo Park here. A few things I'd like to talk about is the zoning that's around us now. On the west side and the east side, we have large tracts of R3. They're touching us by a lot of road frontage on North 7 Mile Ferry would be the one to the east, and then the one to the west does have the lower floodplains when the river backs up. The property's been on the market since 2012 on the MLS. I think that's important. I think we need to get us properties today for housing that we need bad. I think this is the perfect kind of feel with the R3 in the downtown area. We're looking to do some really nice homes. They're going to be affordable, but they're going to be nice. There'll be a stucco basement on the bottoms, which is the superior walls. These mistreatment, to answer your question, there was 52 doors right now on the R1. You're welcome. It's 20 acres, so when we speak of terrain, we have 20 acres of terrain to move with. So there is a nice little area up top that we can get in here and build these R3 homes. I've got concerns with my residents. I'm friends with all of them down there on the bottom of North 7 Mile Ferry. The way the engineer has designed it, we have kept 100 foot of tree line between the Conservation Club and my private dock that I'm a member of, which is the boat club. It's been there since the 50s. My intentions was not to go in there and wreck it all. Now that we know what we got, we do keep a large amount of the trees that separate us. We our highways, it's moderate increase to intersection. It keeps it at a level E in the southbound lane, and it does go from a C to a D in the northbound lane. But this is moderate. This is standard. When we done our traffic survey, this is what we got. Our road is 20 foot wide up to the area where we want to make the turn in to the subdivision. I wrote every 50 foot, I wrote a little white paint on it. We got down to an 18.6 and a 19.3. The rest of it's 20 foot coming up the pump station road. I know the traffic study they spoke of here 2 months ago said it was 16. It is on the lower half, but it's not on the upper. We're willing to put sidewalks from this subdivision to the bypass. This will allow school buses to come in. This will allow emergency vehicles to turn around. This does a lot for us. We upgrade a new pump station for the city. We're willing to put that in. Today, I ask for your favor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Are there any questions for Mr. Rita? Okay, is there anyone else here in favor of ordinance Z 2026? Okay, is there anybody who opposes Z? Okay, if I can see you in the peach shirt, please. Please state your name and your address.
My name is Virgil Nunn. I live at 165 East Regent Drive. This will be the third time that I've spoken opposition to this, and my reasons haven't changed. There's a reason that property was on the market since 2012. That road, there's no way this road supports that. There's no way that intersection down there supports this. It's dangerous getting in and out of that road, unless it's just completely tore up, widened, and stoplights put there or whatever. I went down the bypass the other day. I left the club at 5 o'clock. When I got to approaching the light at Highway 12, traffic was backed up to Kings Queens Bluff. That's how bad the traffic is through there. It's one of the most dangerous roads in the city. Also, I'm afraid that if we do this, we're going to block access to that road at some point. We've got a ramp down there at the bottom of that hill that every emergency service in Clarksville has used through the years numerous times for emergencies. We're 6 miles up the river, closer than the next ramp, and most of the accidents occur up that river since I've been going up and down that hill for over 21 years now. So we're definitely against this. There's no way we can be for it. You know, even with the buffer with the trees and everything, that's not a concern. It's the road, it's the intersection. That's our concern. It's access to our boat ramp for emergency services. Thank y'all.
Any questions for Mr. Nunn before you step away?
You're good, sorry.
Nope, you're good, Mr.
I got
Nunn.
carried away. Thank y'all.
Okay, anyone else opposed? Let me get the gentleman back here with the hat on. Thank you, sir. If I can get your name and address.
My name's Larry Larcher. I live at 1146 7 Mile Ferry Road. Please excuse me, I'm not a public speaker, so I'm a little nervous. I've lived there for 30 years, and like the gentleman before me was saying, that road can't handle anything. I have, to this day, waited 8 minutes just to try to make a right-hand turn on 41 bypass, to make a right-hand turn. To try to turn left, you won't do it in the morning hours and any time after 3. It's just impossible. And to go across, it's not going to happen. The road right now, they said it's 16. When summer boats are coming, you have to pull into the ditch or off the side of the road to eat if somebody's bringing a boat down, because the road just can't handle it. And that's about all I can say is there are going to be some bad accidents trying to get on 41A if this traffic is increased as bad as it is. It's just going to be a death trap for somebody, just like it was on some of the other intersections. Highway 12, how many people died there before a light was put in? Emerson Ferry, where the light is. Accident after accident before a street light's put in. And that's just going to be the way it's going to be here. So I'm against it. Thank you for the time.
Hold on. Any questions for Mr. Larcher? No, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who opposes? Yes, sir. If I can get your name and address, please.
Hello, it's Jeff Fletcher, 1111 7 Mile Ferry Road. I have a few comments. Most of them have already been addressed. The traffic is one. Like I said, the 41A bypass is a dangerous area. Making a right turn is, you can get them a right turn. It's almost impossible to get a left turn anytime during rush hour. The turn-in lane is turned for the other 7 Mile Ferry, so there's no middle lane to get in. You have to cross your lane, that lane, and get in the left lane. So that's really a bad thing there. We've asked about a traffic signal there for years, and we've been told that they can't install a traffic signal there. I don't know what the issue is, but that was one thing. Also, the road, I've lived there all my life. I went to school there. We had to walk down on the bypass and catch the bus when I was a school-aged child. Traffic was really bad. We had to stand out there on the end of the road with traffic running 60 miles an hour. I think that's very, very unsafe. I know the road's deemed unsafe for buses at the current time. I don't know if there'll be any improvement on that. As far as the water runoff, I have the property on the west side, I believe. We have a lot of trouble with water runoff. There's no ditches, no anything. So all the water that comes down the hill washes onto my property, and I have sinkholes already started there from that issue. Also, I have the property on the west side, I think is mine. I have some R3 zoning. I'd be willing to adjust my zoning back to R1 and have it rezoned if it's possible. I just don't think that development's too big for the area. There's only 10 families, less than 10 families that live in that area, and we have a hard time now. I don't know how we would make it with, extended more traffic like that. I know he has a right to develop the property, and we're not, any issues with development, just not that type of development. So that's all I have.
Hold on. Does anyone have any questions for this gentleman? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Rita, would you like a rebuttal? All right. Okay, we're going to move out of public hearing. Do we have any questions, or if not, then I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion for disapproval as the access to the site is limited to the intersection at Ashton City Road 41 bypass, which serves as the sole connection to the major street network. The submitted traffic assessment identifies 4 levels of service area condition for the southbound approach. This negativity contributes to associated traffic safety concerns.
I have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion properly second. All in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? We have 1 opposed. Okay, the motion for disapproval has been accepted. Okay,
Commissioners, with the deferral of, I believe it's item Z626 and Z1126, you are now on Z12-2026, and that starts on page 40 of your staff report.
I did not read Z11 into the record. So let's see what's marked as you just tell them that motions for disapproval. You'll see them in here to speak on.
Excuse me, so Z11-2026 was not read into the record. It is awaiting a traffic assessment.
okay.
And our recommendation would be a 1-month deferral. So there may be someone who wishes to make a comment on it. I don't anticipate there would be, but you can ask.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and ask, I'll move this into public hearing. Is there anybody here who has a comment on Z11-2026? Anybody opposed to Z11-2026? Okay, we're moving out of public hearing. I guess
We just need a motion for deferral.
If I can get. A motion for deferral. Okay, we have a motion properly second. All in favor? Aye. Okay.
I apologize. I think he stated item number 11, and I marked it as Z11, so I apologize.
It's okay. Thank you.
So Z12-2026 starts on page 40 of your staff report. It's the application of Mr. Richard Garrett, request to go from R1 Single Family District to O1 Office District. It's the northwest corner of the intersection of Trenton Road and Haynes Street. The reason for the request stated by the applicant is the purpose of this request is to allow for the adaptive reuse of an existing single-family residence for a low-intensity professional office use. The applicant does not propose demolition of the existing structure, expansion of the building footprint, or additional development on the remainder of the property at this time. The proposed O1 zone is intended to provide a limited office only use that is compatible with the surrounding development patterns while minimizing impacts related to traffic, drainage, flooding, and infrastructure. Again, that's the comments of the reason for the request by the applicant. This request encompasses 1.45 plus or minus acres. It's currently a single-family home on site. There is a little bit of topography related to this property, and the property has been split by a sinkhole purchase division you'll see on the aerial from the city of Clarksville. The department comments, utility has stated possible off-site lift station upgrades required. The street department has stated no future connection to Trenton Road, and a drainage plan may be required at the development stage. The impact of the proposed use on the surrounding development. 01 provides an opportunity for general, professional, business offices of various scales and levels of intensity. It is accessible from Hayes Street. I did mention the karst topography. There is a sinkhole immediately adjacent to this site. It is in the St. Bethlehem planning area and the future land use designation of urban neighborhood. Staff has recommended disapproval. The reasoning for this request is the proposed 01 office district aligns with the future land use designation of the urban neighborhood that states that limited office and commercial uses primarily located on major roads are appropriate according to the adopted Clarksville-Montgomery County Comprehensive Plan. However, documented flooding and drainage issues exist in the immediate area, and a clear path to resolving these concerns has not been provided. Given these existing conditions, staff does not recommend approval of a zone change that will result in increased impervious surface coverage and potential increases in site intensity. You do have the aerial photographs for the property in question. On the second aerial on page 44, you see the gap in between the cross-hatched areas. That's the location of the sinkhole that I made mention of. Then you do have the future land use opinion map that does show the urban neighborhood designation there on the corner. The very rear portion that's on the other side is suburban neighborhood designation. And then you do have the current zoning. As part of the public comment, the applicant has provided you, I'll refer to as a PowerPoint slide presentation that's been provided there that runs through, I believe, page 53. And if you have questions about the staff report, I'll be more than happy to try to answer them for you.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Spanghauer? Okay, since there's no questions, we're going to go ahead and move into public hearing. Do we have anyone in favor of this zoning? And if you could state your name and address, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard Garrett, 1488 Collinsview Way. And I appreciate the comments of the Planning Commission staff and just everything that goes into evaluating these particular sites to determine whether a property has adverse conditions to it, and whether it's spot zoning, just consistent with the adopted land use plan. Some of the things that I'd like to point out is when you look at the PowerPoint presentation provided, you look at what is being proposed. We're not talking about new development here. We're talking about keeping an existing house that I've already renovated the interior to support somebody that ended up having a tree land on their house. Insurance company ended up contacting me and asking, did I have a place for them for the next 4 to 6 months? So I do have a tenant in there now that's just waiting on their house to be rebuilt. What's been done to the house is what I'm going to do to the house. I've already renovated it to where it's dual purpose. It functions as a rental currently. Simple enough to remove ceiling fans and just put standard lights in there to make it a commercial office. What we do is I'm a real estate brokerage. We do just regular real estate and property management. The traffic count didn't even warrant having a traffic assessment. When you look at the number of vehicles that come, you're probably looking at maybe between the 1st and the 5th, the majority of people that are going to come to pay rent. These days, most of them pay rent online, so our visitors are very minimal. On Bond Street, which is going down Hayes past my building, making a left on Bond, there was already a real estate office, Horizon Realty, approved to be, and that is inside of the neighborhood, next Directly next to it are residential, residences. And then on Trenton Road, you have, Berkshire Hathaway. That home was able to be rezoned and turned into a commercial real estate office. Directly next to me is a gymnastics studio that was approved. There were some drainage improvements made to the site to address the flooding that occurs in that area. All along that line, you'll see in the presentation, all that C5. I could have easily requested C5 to be consistent with the adopted land use plan, but so that my intentions were known, that, there's no deviation of any big development, I chose O1 because I'm genuinely just seeking to use it as an office space. Those in the real estate industry, just the cost of commercial has skyrocketed. So to be able to get out of a rental situation and actually achieve ownership of a building, you have to be creative these days to make things work. And that's what this is an attempt to use a single-family residence that's on a main corridor, that's surrounded by commercial, surrounded by churches. I have the existing buffer between the property to my left. There's a tree-line buffer. It's like an acre behind me before you even get to the residence behind me. And I did the legwork. I went to each house on Bond Street and Hayes Street down to Welch.
Mr. Garrett, you're at 3 and some change.
Oh, my apologies.
No, you're good.
So I appreciate y'all time, giving me the opportunity to share. Like I said, nobody had any objections. The neighbors that I had the pleasure to speak with. What's that now?
You're going to add any more concrete to what's already there?
Right now, that's not the plan. We just don't need a ton of parking. Potentially in the front yard area, we've looked at just a little pad there. But that'd be a minimum, impact, just some handicap parking to enable, those that make it a little bit more. What's that? Yeah, so they don't have to enter the back door. So they'd be able to kind of turn and go through the front yard. There's already a fence around it that's double gated.
Anyone else have any questions for Mr. Garrett?
All right, thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Thank you so much. Is there anybody else in favor of this project? Okay.
Hello, everybody. My name's Billy Lang. I live off of Hayes and Love Street, which is right on the corner, which we all know that property floods. I live right down the street, and I know that flooding is an issue. I think it remaining the same, that he's wanting to leave it like it is with a little bit of parking lot in the front. I'm for this because I think down the road, somebody's going to come in there and try to do something else. And I think being that we have the flooding that we already have, this will be a safe thing for us to do.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for this gentleman? Thank you so much.
All right.
Do we have anyone else in favor of this project? Do we have anybody who opposes? Okay, we have no opposed, so we're going to leave out of public hearing.
I make a
I'm
motion.
gonna
Go ahead.
Hold on. Yes, sir.
I do think this is appropriate to answer because one of our commissioners did ask the question and we had an individual mentioned. The conversion to a professional office would likely require 8 parking spaces.
8.
Yes, so there's probably the equivalent of 2 that's
Okay.
currently there. So if that conversion were to take place, there would be additional pavement needed.
Okay.
So
You know, the pavement going all the way back to the other shed, the additional shed?
I don't think those equate to additional parking spaces. The 2 by the garage, I think, would be equivalent. When we measured them, they would be equivalent to 9 by 20 or 10 by 18. But you would not be able to stack along that singular drive. So I'd just like to state that for the record. I do think it would be fair to allow Mr. Garrett to speak to that, since I did answer the question. But
Mr. Garrett, would you like to speak on that? And you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
I'll be very brief. So the plan, if required to add additional parking, would just be there's already a sidewalk. If you come down Trenton Road, turn on Hayes, there's like a sidewalk that takes you kind of in front of the house. Would just be to make that into, it's already designed almost like a little one way to get into the parking lot. And then we just there's enough frontage in the front yard to pave, the required, if it's 8 parking spaces with a couple handicap spots, we'd be more than willing to do that. And I guess with it right there, I would assume, not my area of expertise, but being in the front as far as just drainage down, there's a whole acre behind us full, I think it would be a minimal impact. I haven't heard anything from the engineers or anybody involved that have expressed any deep concern on, what that would potentially do as far as adverse impact to the surrounding areas or neighborhoods.
With this new information, anybody have any questions for Mr. Garrett? Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Okay, now we're moving out of public hearing. Okay, anybody, a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve based on the proposed 01 office district request aligns with the future land use designation of the urban neighborhood.
Second.
We have a motion properly second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Commissioners, on next page 54 is your next application. Raul Lozano is the agent or the owner. The request is to go from R1 single family mobile home residential district to R4 multiple family residential district. This is along the eastern frontage of Center Road, 180 plus or minus feet south of the intersection with Britton Springs Road. The reason stated by the applicant for this request is to match the zoning across the street and will be used for a multifamily residential structure. Again, that's the comment and the reason for the from the applicant. This request encompasses 0.35 plus or minus acres. It's an existing residential mobile home lot. It is in the Lafayette Peters Mill Road planning area. There is previous zoning history in reference to this application. A year ago, both the staff and the Planning Commission recommended approval of this application. I believe it got first reading at the City Council and was disapproved on the second reading. You have no department comments of any concern. The street department did indicate drainage and water quality may be required at site review. The impact would be increased multifamily residential density. It would be accessible from Center Road. Total historic lot yield would be 4. It is in the Lafayette Peters Mill planning area. There was also the Britton Springs neighborhood plan that was not adopted by City Council. Future land use map indicates suburban neighborhood. Staff recommendation is for approval. The request is consistent with the overall goals and objectives of the adopted Clarksville-Montgomery County Comprehensive Plan. This parcel is shown as part of a suburban neighborhood future land use. While predominant use is moderate density, single-family residential, this request is adjacent to a new multifamily residential development, replaces aging housing stock, and increased housing options in the planning area without negatively affecting the character of the area. It is encouraged to maintain a desirable mixture of housing stock for the planning area as well. Your next 2 slides are the aerial overviews of the property in question. Then you do have the future land use opinion map for this area, and then you do have the current zoning map. I do think it's relative for the discussion. You'll see the dashed line. That is the location of the city limits boundary, and it does follow Center Road center line at this location. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to try to answer them for you.
Why City Council?
Hit your button. I know.
Why'd City Council turn it down on the second reading?
I believe this was brought up when we were first discussing after the first meeting of the Britton Springs Road neighborhood plan. And though it got through first reading by, I believe, a vote or 2, it was pulled at second reading and it failed 7-6. So 1 or 2 council members changed their vote between first and second reading, and possibly due to having some of those meetings and said, let's wait till the plan's done. Ultimately, as we know, the plan was not adopted, so the applicant decided to come back in and try it again this year.
And what was our vote on that, our commission vote?
We were for it last time.
Unanimous?
So was the staff. Ooh.
I don't write it down that way in the report.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions? Okay, we're going to go ahead and take it into public hearing. Okay, do we have anybody for Z13, 2026. If you can give your name and address.
Jonathan Blick, 1540 Sale Road. Raul asked me to speak for him today. As you know, Mr. Spanhauer and Mr. Tyndall had discussed, this has been passed before, shot down because of the Britton Springs plan. The ward for that, or that council member for the ward pulled it, and they voted to vote it down just to wait for the Britton Springs plan to be read, and of course that failed. So we're just asking for you guys' approval. Of course, he's going to build a multifamily, hopefully affordable, and of course with the sprinklers reading maybe tomorrow. I'm sure it'll be townhomes if that's passed, because we know sprinklers aren't affordable in the small multifamily district. Of course, we've built those stacked duplexes and multifamily ourselves. And just a cost for us for those stacked duplexes, they're about $97,000 for the sprinkler system. And of course that is not affordable for us. And we're not against sprinklers. We're just for a more affordable sprinkler if we can get the chief on board with that. But we would like your support on this one, and hopefully we can get support of City Council on this R4. We've built, I don't know, maybe 10 triplexes on the street already, but those are in the county. And then there's also a 150 complex to the, I guess, left of our center road. So just would appreciate your support, and have any questions for you, I'll answer that.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Blake?
Thank you all.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who's in favor of Z13, 2026? Is there anybody who opposes? If you can give your name and address.
Yes, ma'am. Eric Launch, City Council Member, Ward 2. My address is 724 RS Bradley Boulevard.
Can you state your name one more time? You said it really fast. I'm sorry.
I apologize.
It's okay.
Eric Launch.
Okay, thank you.
Launch with a C. So, not necessarily disapprove, but that is the ward next to mine, and that council member I know very well. I would offer that I've spent quite a bit of times in Britton Springs. Those are a rowdy bunch, and I say that with the utmost love and respect, that I think this should at least be deferred until we have an opportunity to speak to the residents. Again, I'm not speaking on behalf of that council member, but we cross-pollinate as far as assisting each other. And if it was disapproved by City Council once, with Mr. Carlos saying they don't want it, I think there's some merit to that as far as why we're talking about it again, and why it is being brought up. So I would ask that it at least be deferred, and I personally will go talk to those residents about Britton Springs, specifically in that area. I've spent a lot of time over there. Also, I would like to appreciate you bringing up the sprinkled issue. I thought we were going to talk about that later. We're talking about stacked, not what I call shotgun side by side. So I feel like we're mixing apples and oranges with some issues, and I have some very poignant comments about that in a different forum. This is not the time or the place for that. But I would ask that you defer this at a minimum.
Is there any questions for Mr. Clonch? No? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, is there anyone else who opposes? Mr. Blick, would you like to answer anything that he said? Thank you.
Jonathan Blick, 1540 Sale Road. Just to answer the questions that were presented by him, it was all a part of the Britton Springs plan. This was brought a month before. It went through first reading. I think it had 10 votes in favor. Mr. Carlos Peters, he didn't reach out to us or anything like that, but he did pull it from the consent agenda and said, hey guys, we've got this Britton Springs plan. It probably should be involved in this because we're working hard on this. They spent like $50,000 or something like that. I'm not sure exactly, but so they had that approved already, and he decided to pull it so that we could wait for the Britton Springs plan, and the Britton Springs plan failed. So That was the major reason why, and I'll let Carlos Peters talk about that if he so chooses at the council. Of course, I don't think that we've already waited a year. We've notified all residents in the area 2 times already now, since it's the same zoning. So we've notified everybody 1 year ago. We had the sign out, and nobody came and spoke against it at either this meeting or the council meeting, but they did agree to pull it because of the Britton Springs plan. And then just Mr. Claunch was here today. So I would say that, let's just go ahead and let us get our zoning. We've already built multiple multifamily on the street, and I think that everybody's okay with it in the area. So, and of course they have their opportunity to speak at the city council. So we appreciate you. Any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Blake?
Thank you.
All righty, thank you. Okay, are there any? No? So we're going to go ahead and,
I do have a question.
hold on, let me close the public hearing. Okay, yes, sir.
Everyone was notified, correct? All those around?
We send letters to every property owner that's on the tax card within 100 feet and then place a sign on the property.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So, for motion?
Motion for approval. The request is consistent with the overall goals and objectives of the adopted Clarksville Montgomery County Comprehensive Plan.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Yes. You, one no? Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, commissioners, on page 61 is your next application. It is Z14 2026 KNW Investments, a general partnership requested to go from R3 3-family residential district to R6 single-family residential district. This is along the northern frontage of Marion Street, approximately 153 feet west of the intersection of Ford Street. The reason for the request stated by the applicant is to build 2 new houses on a currently vacant property, and that the request is in line with the Red River District Study. Again, those are the comments or the reason from the applicant as to why they're requesting this rezoning. This request does encompass 0.14 plus or minus acres. It encompasses a former or an existing single-family residential lot and a former alley that was abandoned. It is in the downtown urban core planning area. There were no department comments of any concern in reference to this application. The impact would be increased single-family residential density, accessible by street frontage of Marion Street. The applicant's estimate and the historic estimate would be 2 lots. Again, this is in the downtown urban core planning area, the comprehensive plan, and a portion of the Red River neighborhood plan. Future land use designation is the comprehensive plan urban neighborhood and what is determined to be mixed density residential in the Red River neighborhood plan. The staff is recommending approval. This request is consistent with the overall goals and objectives of the adopted Clarksville Montgomery County Comprehensive Plan and the Red River neighborhood plan. The R6 single-family residential request aligns with both the urban neighborhood and mixed residential future land use designations of the aforementioned plans. Small lot single-family residential development is identified as to be appropriate for this location by the adopted Red River neighborhood plan, and it is encouraged to maintain a desirable mixture of housing stock for the planning area. You do have the 2 aerials of the property in question. Then you have a copy of the comprehensive plan future land use designation, the current zoning map designation,
The Red River plan is on the screen.
and the Red River neighborhood plan was in the online presentation or the screen presentation you have there. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to try to answer them.
Commissioners, do we have any questions? Okay, we're going to go ahead and move into public hearing. Do we have anybody in Z14 2026? Anybody against Z14 2026? Okay. If you could please state your name and address, I'd appreciate it.
Jerry Dukes, 825 Marion Street. we were raised there for many years, and you said earlier it was an alley. I don't see what is going to be, a house or apartments going to be in that area?
2 houses.
2 houses? So what's the change in the rezoning? It said change for a different area of housing and whatever.
It's currently zoned R3, which would allow a duplex, a triplex, or one single-family house. It's not quite a wide enough parcel to subdivide the R3 into 2 houses, so they're asking for R6, which only allows for 1 house per parcel, so they can divide it into 2 smaller parcels and put 1 house on each parcel.
Where they going to park?
In front of the houses. I know it seems like a very small lot, but this has been done in that
Have y'all
neighborhood.
been over that area lately?
Yes, sir.
Austin P students park up and down that road. The mailbox is blocked all the time there. I just don't see how you're gonna have some parking space and a place for someone to park there. It's on a hill. Is that not gonna be some drainage problem? There's some senior citizens live there, been using that alley for ages to get to the house. There's no place for them to park or access to their home. The house next to 825. There's no way for that person to get to their house as far as parking that car. The students park on the road, so how they gonna get to their home anymore?
Well, they've been using this property improperly. This is someone else's property. They're gonna have to work that out with this property owner and that property owner. As far as the parking on the street, there'll be 2 driveways, and you can't park legally in front of someone's driveway. So you might lose 2 on-street parking spaces on Marion Street, but this has been done all across the city on parcels this size, and it can happen. I know it looks small. They are going to be small houses, but it can happen.
May I ask for a request on it to hold off until we get it surveyed? Because I think where I see the stakes on the property line, I think they're encroaching upon 825.
I do have a copy of the survey in the file, if that's relevant for you guys to want to see. And I can share it with the gentleman as well.
I appreciate that. So right now, y'all are basically for that, as far as the building of the property on that alleyway. I'm always say it's an alley, and it's not a proper building area. I guess y'all say it's a proper building area. So may I see that if you get a chance to?
I will need to, I'll be more than happy to share with the board. It's the only copy I have currently.
Yes,
So I would need it back, and we can make you a copy of the, I'll bring it to you.
I'll come to you.
That is the former alley. It went through an abandonment at the city council several years back. That has been verified as well.
So y'all say it's big enough for 2 homes and a parking space on that alleyway? And that property right there, the square is 825?
I'm not sure which.
The corner lot is 825.
That's the parent track, yes. And then this is the former alley that's referenced under the note, which is note 9. And then in this detail, they are combined. So,
The red is the alley.
it's this combined with the former alley. And that was abandoned in 23, 24 through city resolution. And that's been recorded.
John, how much road frontage does
It has, I believe, 60 feet, just right at it. Yeah, and this is beyond the minimum of R6. It would be a larger R6 lot. So, but I can definitely make you a copy. That's the only one I have, but I can make you a copy after.
Is there any, sorry, Mr. Duke.
Go ahead.
Is there any questions for Mr. Duke? Because he's gone over his 3 minutes. Are there any questions for him?
If anybody would like to see a copy.
And we'll,
that's-
yes. Make sure we get copies out there. Thank you, sir.
I appreciate y'all.
Are there anybody else who's opposing? Okay. Please state your name and your address, please.
My name is Tasha Duke Saunders. I too represent 825 Marion Street. We also have a property across the street from that, which is 505 4th Street. I just want to piggyback based on, I know that you said the property is large enough. I would like it deferred so that we, the family, could also do our own survey for 825 because we do feel that where those markers are, that it's not correct, that over the years, somehow some property lines have gotten moved. So we would like to do our own survey so that we can make sure that what we started with is what we have.
I appreciate your concern. Regardless of what the zone is, it will still have to come back to the planning commission staff for what they call subdivision, at which point we will again go out and make sure that they've surveyed it properly. So this isn't the last step. This is really the first step.
Absolutely.
So I think it's at the pleasure of the board here if they want to get that survey certified, but there is going to be another step after this to come back and actually split that into 2 lots and then sign off on that. So that'll take several more months as this would have to go through city council first.
Okay. Okay.
Did anybody have any questions for Ms. Duke? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go ahead and close the hearing. Ms. Straitman?
The question, I know they've brought up the survey a couple of times there. Should the line be incorrect and the lot be smaller than it is? Rezoning it to R6 from R3, that would potentially just take it down to where it could be 1 versus 2, and it can only be 1 single-family duplex or triplex at this time.
Without looking at the depth, and I didn't review this case originally, but my guess is they want R6 because of the lot depth, not necessarily the lot width. 60 feet is enough to do R3 single-family lots, but they're probably just short on the square footage per individual lot by the depth. So R6, again, R3 right now, if it was just slightly bigger, they wouldn't even come here. It would just be split into 2 lots with 30-foot frontage. The R6 just gives them a little more wiggle room for the setbacks.
Okay.
And you said the density for the R. And you said the density for the R3 is what currently?
It's at least 1 house. I'd have to make sure what the actual square footage rounded is to see if they would have had a duplex. I don't know, where is it?
They're making copies.
Okay.
I believe it does, it's large enough to accommodate a duplex.
Okay.
Yeah.
Say it one more time.
It is
please.
currently large enough to accommodate a duplex.
I do believe that is correct. Yep. And that is a current survey that was done in the past year. So I'll get you guys, they're making several copies of it and I'll distribute to them. Obviously, there, as Mr. Tyndall stated, there's another process beyond the zoning to divide these, which is another survey involvement and meets and bounds description. But that's something we would look at. That would be a staff level plat from that standpoint. Thank you, Brad. And if you're looking at that detail, note 9 references the abandonment where the alley was removed. And for those that were at the informal, this was one of the items that we brought up in the discussion.
I'll say it looks like, to just make sure we're giving you all the proper information, it looks like it's just over 6,000 total square feet with that abandonment. So even though it does have 60 foot of frontage, each lot would only be 3,000 square feet, which is very minimal for the R3. You would not be able to have a duplex. So it would only be 1 house right now. Basically, they're asking for 1 to 2 houses for this proposal.
Are there any more questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion for approval due to the request is consistent with the overall goals and objectives of the adopted Clarksville-Montgomery County Comprehensive Plan and the Red River Neighborhood Plan.
Okay, I have a motion properly second. All in favor? Any opposed? The motion carries. Duke family, keep following this. Okay.
I will add, if you have any questions, you're welcome to reach directly out to me. I'll be more than happy to answer anything and sit down with you and go over that survey. You're welcome. Thank you for being here today. Commissioners, your next application. Please bear with me. I decided to scroll all the way back to the beginning, it appears. I hit the wrong bookmark, is what I did. All right, your next application is Z15-2026. Starts on page 68 of your staff report. It is the owner's Paul Richard Pinkstaff requested to go from R1 Single Family Residential District to R1A Single Family Residential District. It's for a property that fronts on the east frontage of Fantasy Lane, approximately 325 feet north of the Fantasy Lane and Candlewood Court intersection. The reason for this request stated by the applicant is they're requesting for R1A as an extension of the adjacent properties from the west. This property will also be used to construct build three single-family homes. Again, that's the comments of the applicant for this application. This request does encompass just over an acre at 1.08 plus or minus. It's currently a single-family residential home site. It is in the St. Bethlehem planning area. This was originally requested a year ago from R1 to R3. Both the staff, the RPC, and the City Council staff and RPC recommended disapproval, and the City Council did disapprove the application. Department comments indicate possible water main upgrades required if a hydrant's required. CDE has denoted a property line that would need to be relocated or an easement given. You do have some school system comments. And it is increased, the impact would be increased single-family residential density. The applicant's historic estimate and the historic estimate for that zoning classification is 3 lots. It is in the future land use map designation of suburban neighborhood. The staff is recommending approval. This request is consistent with the overall goals and objectives of the adopted Clarksville-Montgomery County Comprehensive Plan. The R1A Single Family Residential District aligns with the suburban neighborhood designation identified for this tract, and the request is located in an appropriate location for a gradual increase in density that is in character with the development pattern for the area. The proposed R1A Single Family Residential zoning classification is a gradual transition from the R1 standards of 15,000 square feet and 90-foot lot width to R1A 12,000 square feet lot size and 80-foot lot width. These types of gradual increases align with the growth principles of the adopted Clarksville-Montgomery County Comprehensive Plan. You do have 2 aerial photographs of the property in question. You have the future land use designation of suburban neighborhood, and then the current zoning map for the area. I will note that there is R1A across the street. We have taken several phone calls in reference to this application, and you do have one recorded there for public comment on page 75. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to try to answer them.
Are there any questions? Okay, yes.
I know this is anticipated to only be 3 lots, and it's a very, like as you stated, a gradual increase going from R1 to R1A. How many could you get with it being R1? I apologize. I know I ask that all the time.
I want to double check the lot width again. I believe it was 2.
Mr. Spainhoward's going to look that up. Can we answer that after the public hearing?
Okay, that'll be fine.
Yeah, he's just going to do a little
I'm gonna
math
double
here.
check. I just got to find the survey again.
Are there any other questions? Okay, we're going to go ahead and go into public session. Is there anyone who is for Z15-2026? Please state your name and address.
David Blessing, 895 South Ridge Trail. So what we're trying to do with this property is build 3 single-family homes. The current zoning allows for 3 single-family homes with a flag lot as well. But going from R1 to R1A allows for a narrower lot, going to an 80-foot lot, and allows me to align all three homes on the front setback to match the adjacent properties as well. That's all I have. If you have any questions? Thank you.
All righty, thank you, Mr. Blessings. Are there anyone else
'cause
here
it's only,
who is for this
287.
ordinance, for this, I'm sorry, zoning? Is there anybody here against it? Yes, ma'am. When you come up, please state your name and address.
Stephanie Fullerton, 456 Bluff Drive. So the rezoning request to go from R1 to R1A, the applicant is intending to place 3 separate single-family structures on one lot. While labeled as single-family, this functions as a multi-unit development in every practical sense. Fantasy Lane is a traditional single-family neighborhood, 1 home per lot. That pattern is consistent across the zoning map, allowing 3 units on 1 parcel breaks that pattern and sets a precedent that will be impossible to contain. Once one lot is intensified, others will follow. This project will increase traffic, parking overflow, and strain on water, sewer, and stormwater systems that were never designed for multi-unit density. It will reduce privacy, increase building mass, and change the character of a quiet street, along with destroying a large chunk of old-growth forest. As numerous abandoned, condemned, and inhabitable and structures that could be redeveloped, those sites are far more appropriate for a 3-building structure rather than destroying the healthy, stable street like a Fantasy Lane. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Madam Chairman, just to provide some information for the previous speaker, R1A is individual single-family houses on individual lots. So it would be 3 houses on 3 separate lots, all individually owned. So it's not 3 houses on 1 lot, as was stated.
Okay. Mr. Blessing, did you want to rebut that? Is it Blessing or Blessings?
No S.
Okay.
Yeah. So just to speak on what she was talking about, yeah, it's going to be 1 house per lot, 3 houses. The only reason for the request is so we can line up all 3 houses with the houses adjacent to it. So, I mean, just aesthetically pleasing, I think, for the community. That's all.
Any questions for Mr. Blessing? Blessing? Thank you. Okay, we're in closed session.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
He did answer the question, and what he stated does align. The trapezoid would result in a flag lot with 3 lots. So,
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve. This request is consistent with the overall goals and objectives of the adopted Clarksville Montgomery County Comprehensive Plan.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion properly second. All in favor? Motion is carried. All right.
all right. Commissioners, your last city zoning case is actually a PUD application. So it is a zoning and site plan at the same time. It is Z16 2026. It starts on page, I believe, 76 of your staff report. It's the application of the City of Clarksville, care of Michelle Austin. The request is to go from M2 Industrial District to PUD Plan Unit Residential Development. It's for a property located at the northeast corner of Frosty Morn Drive and Red River Street. This request does encompass 3.24 plus or minus acres. And as you will see in the report, there is a detailed reason for this request as part of the PUD report. So I won't state it redundantly at this point, but I'll go into this report for you. The request is right at 3 1/4 acres, currently zoned M2. This has been referred to many times over the years as the Frosty Morn site. It's a former industrial food processing facility that's currently in a state of disrepair. It is in the downtown urban core planning area. Department comments. We do have pre-application meetings prior to these submittals. This has been met with all departments at the pre-application meeting, and then again the opportunity to provide the following comments. Street Department has indicated that drainage and water quality plans may be required. Dumpster tied to sewer and improvements to the storm sewer on Red River may be required. Clarksville Fire Rescue indicated that the standpipe would be required for this project, and a future code-compliant hydrant location will be requested to serve the standpipe within 100 feet of the FDC. That's an acronym for Fire Department Connection. And then there were school system comments as well. All applications, PUD applications, as a reminder, if this does receive approval at City Council, then the Regional Planning Commission will have an additional opportunity to do a final PUD plan. And I can tell you that the comments that are referenced there will be addressed at that point in time. And actually, the site plan has already been updated to accommodate the FDC location for the fire department. There is no historical estimates in reference to this because it's specific to the plan that's been submitted. The applicant has indicated 65 units. Again, it is in the downtown urban core planning area. The future land use designation is for mixed use, and the staff's recommendation is for approval of the prelim PUD plan. And then so you've got the aerial photographs, the future land use designation, the current zoning, and then your formal PUD report. 65 units was what was referenced a few moments ago. 49 of those would be one bedroom, 16 are two bedroom. The intent of the PUD application is stated there. As a reminder, the pre-application conference did take place on Thursday, March 19th at 1 p.m. This overall plan is consistent with the comprehensive plan. The proposed PUD preliminary concept is consistent with the goals and objectives of the adopted Clarksville Montgomery County Comprehensive Plan. It meets all the following requirements that are shown there. It equates to right at 20 units per acre. As far as transportation, a traffic impact study is stated as when it's required by ordinance. This application does not generate 100 peak hour trips. Senior adult housing, attached housing averages for this specific development 13 a.m. peak hour trips and an average of 16 p.m. peak hour trips. Parking is attributed to the PUD specific use, which is age-restricted senior housing, falls within the 0.5 to 0.9 space per unit range per the accepted ITE parking generation. 5th edition for parking calculations. That's an engineering manual for governing parking. This use, when paired with coordinated ride services such as the Mid-Cumberland Human Resource Agency that's described in the submittal, the 0.6 spaces per unit is deemed acceptable. And then those calculations are provided there. I do think it's important to note that in the pre-application meeting, there is, we have seen discussions about adding potential parking to the adjacent property, which is currently under ownership of the R.J. Corman Formal Railroad. And there is an opportunity for on-street parking potential along the Frosty Morn Drive right-of-way if the city deems that acceptable. The current submittal meets the aforementioned sections. Those go over building massing, site development. Additional landscaping review will be provided at the final PUD application phase. I'm putting words together there. This does exceed the minimum 15% required open space. As you'll see in the plan, that the open space is programmed for a portion of it. All the other required submittals for the design team, PUD is required to have a minimum of 2 different design professionals involved, and the plan has been reviewed or presented by McKay Burchett Company, and elevations provided by Work Architecture. It does check all the other formal boxes of the review, and then here's the formal recommendation. The proposed PUD preliminary plan is consistent with the goals and objectives of the adopted Clarksville Montgomery County Comprehensive Plan. The future land use opinion map designates the property as mixed use, and this designation aligns with the PUD proposal. Age-restricted senior attached housing is an appropriate land use in a mixed-use environment. The proposed PUD meets a housing need for the overall community. The overall design of the structures and site design will be a significant improvement to the area. This area has been identified to transition away from its industrial past, and this project is an opportunity to begin that transition. The proposed PUD indicates or includes pedestrian facilities and landscaping to provide aesthetic improvements, buffering and shade, An outdoor fire pit with seating, ADA raised gardens are being provided for outdoor living amenities, as well as a fenced pet recreation area. You do have the overall elevation concept, and then you have the detailed reason for the request submitted by the applicant. This is required as part of the PUD report. That starts on page 88 through, I believe, 90, ends on 91 and 92. And then you have the overall site plans that you're looking at and the landscape plans, I believe, on 93 and 94. Madam Chair, I think it would be appropriate just to give a few moments for them to, don't want to bore everybody with reading that report to you. If you would like to read through that, and then we need to open the floor for public comments.
There's also one other special piece of information on this one. The city, because the city is the underlying property owner and going to be a land lease to the end user, does have a special called meeting tomorrow at 4:30 for the first reading on this. So this will not have a first reading next Thursday like a typical rezoning case. Tomorrow will be the first reading with the second reading next Thursday. So if you would like to speak for or against this at City Council, your opportunity will be 4:30 tomorrow afternoon, not next Thursday.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Mr. Spanghauer? Okay, we're going to take us into public session. Is anybody for this ordinance? Okay, yes, sir. Striped shirt. If you can give your name and address, please.
Certainly. Shannon Tudor. My address is 705 Larry Smith Road, Smithland, Kentucky. I don't live in Clarksville. I live in Kentucky. I'm with SoCar and Beacon, the developer and operator for this application. First, I want to thank y'all for this time. I want to thank Mr. Tyndall and Mr. Spanghauer, and Michelle Austin, and all of the agencies in Clarksville that have helped us get this together. It's been phenomenal help with that, and happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions?
Mr. Tudor, just to provide a little more information for the board, this is part of a LIHTC project, right? Low income tax credit through the state of Tennessee that you'll be providing senior restricted housing with the land lease with the city of Clarksville.
That's absolutely
and you
right.
are the end operator for during the land lease, correct?
Correct. It will be me from now until I'm no longer working. So we'll have it. And that application went in April 15th was the deadline to the state. So that application for the tax credit award for this project is pending their review.
Any questions? Okay, is there anybody else
Thank you.
for? Thank you, sir. If you can give your name and address, please.
My name is Billy Lang, 19 Love Street. I spoke against this property, kinda, but I do think that this is something that the city really does need. I work in senior living, and being that it'll give a leg up to somebody that can't really afford to be able to live for independent living. And now that I've researched it a little bit and did a little checking the boxes, I do think that this fits where it needs to go. So that's all I wanted to share.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Lane? Thank you, Mr. Lane.
All right.
Is there anyone else for this project? Is there anybody opposed to this project? All right, we're going to close the public hearing.
I make a motion for approval based on the future land use opinion map designates this property as mixed use, and the designation aligns with the PUD proposal. Age-restricted senior attached housing is an appropriate land use in a mixed-use environment, and the proposed PUD meets a housing need for the overall community.
Okay.
Second.
I got a motion and a proper second. All in favor? Aye. Motion has passed. Thank you.
That concludes my report.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and ask the team, do you guys need 5? They're like, no. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, thank you. All right, commissioners, we do have 2 variance requests, so we'll ask you to open up your subdivision tab on your tablets there. And the first case is V2 2026, and I'll turn this over to Mr. Parker.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Tyndall. We have case number V2 and V3 are associated with the same subdivision, the same right-of-way dedication. If the commission prefers, we can do that as one case, one public hearing, or I can split those up into two. That's up to the board.
Did you all hear that?
Yes.
Okay, are y'all in agreement to do them both together?
I think that's what the yes was for.
Thank you. Okay, case number V2 and V3 we'll discuss at the same time and have one public hearing. The applicant is American Snuff. The subdivision that it's associated with is Grizzly Road right-of-way dedication, case number S21 2026. Again, this is a subdivision variance request. The property is located south of and adjacent to Guthrie Highway, approximately 1,140 feet south and west of the intersection of Clear Springs Road and Guthrie Highway. Approximately 7.88 acres, zoned to M2, and it is in the rural area of the growth plan. I'll read the variances. There's a total of 3 with these two these two variance cases. The first one is to case 4.113 subsection 1 and table 4.1 of the subdivision regulations. And that states, all subdivisions shall install curb and gutter as specified in city and or county street road specifications. The request is to have no curb and gutter added to the proposed right-of-way. 4.11 subsection 1A in table 4.1 is all office, civic, commercial, industrial zone subdivision shall have a minimum of 50 feet of right-of-way and a minimum of 28 feet of pavement width. The request is to allow approximately 24 feet of pavement width instead of this required 28 feet. Moving over to V3, this variance request is to 4.19 subsection 1 in table 4.1. The length of a cul-de-sac measured from the center line of the intersecting street, road, or permanent easement to the center of the turnaround shall not be shorter than 150 feet or longer than indicated in table 4.1. Table 4.1 is 1,500 feet. And for cul-de-sacs that are 1,000 feet or longer, a permanent intermediate turnaround is required. The request is for a cul-de-sac length to exceed 1,500 feet. The proposed non-residential cul-de-sac is approximately 2,371 feet, and they are requesting to not provide an intermediate turnaround. If you look in your subdivision report, on page 20 is the aerial overview of the site. Page 21, you'll see the variance exhibits, and page 22 is the proposed right-of-way dedication. Going back up to V2 and V3 in those sections, 16 and 23 respectively, you can see the justification provided by the applicant. Finally, I'll read the staff conclusion into the record. This proposal is to convert an existing industrial driveway into a publicly dedicated and maintained right-of-way. While the narrow pavement width could make maneuvering larger vehicles more challenging in certain areas, county departments did not raise any concerns regarding the width, and the highway department has noted that water must not be allowed to pond adjacent to the roadway. If there's questions for the staff, I'll be happy to try and answer those. Otherwise, we will need a public hearing. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Parker? Okay, we're going to go ahead and go for public hearing. Anyone for? Name and address, please.
Good afternoon, Cal Burchett with McKay Burchett Company, 1545 Madison Street. So some of y'all might remember this is the Union Carbide building. This driveway was built in the 70s, and American Snuff owns all the property now. They've been operating since around 2000, and the landfill is also back there. So this project started probably back in September for us, and American Snuff reached out to the county because the landfill is completely landlocked right now, and then PTL owns about 10 acres also on this road. So really just 3 properties that are using this driveway now, and they just want to convert it to a county road, and it benefits the county also to get them not landlocked and have, usable road frontage to this road. So some of our variances are there just because the driveway's been functioning like that since the 70s and operates fine for these businesses. So no curb and gutter, a little less pavement width, And the turnaround really is just where can we put a turnaround that functions for all the properties. And we're basically getting just past where the landfill accesses the road and putting the turnaround in there. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and there's some representatives from American Snuff here if you have any questions for them.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Burgess?
Just to clarify for the board, Cal, existing 24-foot of pavement, the whole length, at least 24 feet, is currently out
Yes,
there.
currently
And the highway
24 foot.
department has given the thumbs up to that.
Yeah, we have worked with the county highway department, and we'll continue to. We'll have to do construction documents. We've done a geotech report to make sure the pavement is thick enough, and if it's not, we'll have to remove portions of it to make it to their standards. And also, we'll include drainage that they have mentioned and we've discussed with them. So we'll have construction documents approved by them prior to final plat and everything. Yep.
Can you all hear me? No. Okay. He could not wait to say that. Okay. Can I get a motion?
I make a motion for approval.
Okay.
Second.
I have a motion properly second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. The motion has carried. Next.
Okay, thank you, Commissioners. Our next variance case is case number V4 2026. The applicant is Paul Collins. The associated subdivision is Collins Way Private Residential Common Access Easement.
Whoa, sorry. Yeah, we did them together.
We considered them together
Together.
without objection. Yep,
Yep.
that's fine. Yep. I think we stated it before the public hearing, so I think we were in the clear there.
That was where I was concerned. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Case number V4, applicant Paul Collins. Again, the associated subdivision is Collins Way Private Residential Common Access Easement. That's case number S22 2026. The location is along the western frontage of Dotsonville Road, approximately 1,600 feet south of its intersection with York Road. Property is zoned Ag, Agricultural District. It is in the urban growth boundary of the growth plan, and the corresponding case, again, as already mentioned, is S22 2026. The variance requested is to 3.210 subsection 2. The residential common access easement shall not exceed 750 feet in length. The request is to have a common access easement that is approximately 1,371 feet. On page 32, you'll see your aerial overview of the site. The following page is your variance exhibit. The next page is an engineering exhibit provided by the engineer indicating that it meets the required specifications. And the next page is the proposed associated plat. You can see on page 29 the justification provided by the applicant, and that same page is the staff conclusion. Residential common access easements must be maintained by the homeowners accessing it. The restriction to 3 to 10 lots, the maximum length, and the reduced pavement width, which has been increased at the cul-de-sac in this case, were regulations intended to allow the flexibility of a private road while minimizing financial burden placed on the owner. An extension would increase financial burden on future homeowners and could possibly cause delays in emergency services. The following page just indicates the other staff comments, and then the following page has department comments. Initially, I will point out that fire had some concerns regarding the length and the turnaround. An intermediate turnaround was added, and they increased the pavement width at that turnaround. If there's any questions for the staff, I'll be happy to try and answer those.
Any questions? Okay, we're going to go into public hearing. Is there anyone who is in favor of this variance?
Good afternoon, George Dial, 1810 Mercantile Drive. I'm representing Lee Group, who's the advocate for this project we're working on. I know initially a few months back, we had y'all's unwavering support for the rezone for a high-density subdivision. That got shot down because of the density concern and public opinion on the matter. We've taken all that into consideration, taken a step back, and we've tailored this more towards the intent of having many estate-style lots ranging from 5 to 10 acres instead. And we seek y'all's approval and support with this, pending any questions.
Does anybody have any questions for this gentleman? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. If I can get your name and address. Thank you.
Cal McKay, McKay Merchant Company, Engineers, 1545 Madison Street. Can you pull up the latest plat? Do you have that? In working through this, I just wanted to further explain that County Fire had a problem with the length and the cul-de-sac width, and so we've added an intermediate cul-de-sac at the required width at 750 and made it a normal cul-de-sac width as well as the cul-de-sac at the end, and it seemed to satisfy. It did satisfy the County Fire, and I don't think any of the other departments had any objections.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Burchett?
It's McKay. I'm the other one.
What did I just do? What did I?
You got the cows mixed up. That's all right. Probably a compliment.
Well, you're both equally as handsome, so thank you so much.
Thank you. Y'all have anything?
No worries. It's almost over, y'all. Okay. So are there any more questions or any more for this project? Anyone against this project? Yes, ma'am. Please give your name and address, please.
Howdy, my name is Christine McNamara. I live at 466 Christy Michelle Lane, which is off the Dotsonville Road. I know that a big issue with this development when it was in County Commission not long ago is that Liberty Elementary, which is right there off Dover Road, and it's where my kids are zoned, it's already at 105% capacity, not including any other rezones that have been done recently. Another part is that I see that there's also a request for preliminary plat approval for the 86 or almost 87 acres. That is the totality of the land owned by the Collins family. With this small bit that they're looking at right now, when they do the platting and it gets kind of represented, it will no longer be all ag. They're going to be able to present and say that it fits the surrounding if they kind of bring in more housing into this smaller one. Kind of just feels a little bit like a pre-setup, kind of like lining it up for when they come back around for the 87 acres as a whole.
Anybody have any questions for this young lady?
Oh, I also wanted to know, sorry.
Okay. Yes.
I also wanted to know, like, how many units did they say how many units are expected in this one?
Right now, they're proposing 10 with some area left off of Dotsonville for future land area. The type of road they're proposing, a residential common access easement, caps at 10 lots. So that is one thing about this property, that it would only ever be able to have 10 lots or have to be brought up to a public road standard to get additional lots at any other point. But remember, the ag zoning can always be an acre and a half or greater lot, and some of these lots are 5 acres.
Okay, that makes sense.
And
Thank you.
we will have another public hearing after this variance, if it passes, on the actual subdivision to answer any other questions.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I was also curious, I know that it was mentioned that it could have a bit of an impact on like the property taxes and whatnot of those around. I know that a big part of the Dotsonville, there was a lot of elder community members that were kind of the loudest voices. A lot of them who are on Social Security and retirement, who their family has owned their land for over 100 years, and they won't be able to afford any raises.
I can't speak to what this would do to the property taxes of the region, but the road, the mention of that cost is that a common access easement is borne by the people who access it. So those 10 houses will have to maintain this roadway. And the staff's opinion, I don't want to paraphrase it if Mr. Parker wants to read it again, that was our concern, is that it's a lot of road for 10 lots. We might have said it a little more eloquently in the report, though.
I'll be happy to repeat, especially that last sentence. Let me see. So to allow the flexibility of private road while minimizing financial burden placed on the homeowners. An extension would increase financial burden on future homeowners and could possibly cause delays to emergency services.
Specific to that subdivision.
So nobody else off of York Road?
Right, no one else in the area would bear the cost of that road. It's going to be a private road for the residents of that private road.
Okay. Would it affect when the properties are reassessed? Would the value of the properties
The value
nearby
of-
go up?
Yeah, a private road would be assessed to the properties where the road accesses, so it'd be toward those properties, not the surrounding properties.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Do I need to pause for questions? I figured nobody has any for me.
Anyone have any questions for this young lady? Thank you.
Thank you.
We have room for rebuttal. Mr. McKay? Anybody have any questions for him or any rebuttal? No? Okay, we're going to go ahead and close session, and I'll take a motion or entertain if you have any more questions.
Motion for approval.
We have a motion. We have a motion properly second. All in favor? Okay, motion's carried.
Okay, moving into the subdivision section outside of the variances, our first case is case number S21-2026. This was for the previously approved V2 and V3 variances. Again, the applicant's American Snuff. The subdivision is Grizzly Road right-of-way dedication. It is a preliminary plat located south of and adjacent to Guthrie Highway, approximately 1,140 feet south and west of the intersection of Clear Springs Road and Guthrie Highway, approximately 7.88 acres, and it is in the rural area of the growth plan. The staff recommendation is for approval subject to the conditions listed, and on page, I believe, 38 and 39, you'll see the aerial overview and the proposed plat. If there's any questions for the staff, I'll be happy to try and answer those.
Okay, are there any questions? Okay, seeing there's no questions, let's go into public hearing. Anybody for S21-2026?
Cal McKay Burchett, 1545 Madison Street. Just if
Yes,
you
sir,
have any-
McKay. How can I help you?
Just if y'all have any questions. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone opposed? Okay, since there's no one else opposed, we'll go ahead and close this hearing and take it before the commissioners.
Make a motion for approval based on staff's recommendations.
Second.
We have a motion properly second. All in favor? Okay, motion is carried. Thank you.
Okay, our final subdivision case is case number S22-2026. The applicant again is Paul Collins. This was the previously approved V4 2026. The subdivision is Collins Way, private residential common access easement, preliminary plat. Again, located along the western frontage of Dotsonville Road, approximately 1,600 feet south of its intersection with York Road, zoned ag, and in the UGB portion of the growth plan. Staff recommendation is for approval, subject to the 3 conditions listed. And beginning on page 42, you'll see the aerial overview of the site, and 43 is the proposed subdivision plat. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to try and answer those.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Parker? Seeing that there's none, we're going to go ahead and go into public session.
Cal McKay Burchett Company, you're gonna make me say
I'm-
Burchett. 1545 Madison Street. Now, just if you got any questions.
You did so good. Thank you. Is there anybody opposing? Or is there anyone else in favor of? Is there anyone opposing? Okay, we're going to go ahead and close public hearing. Can I entertain a motion?
Motion for approval.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion properly second. All in favor? Motion is passed.
Okay, moving into the site review portion of your agenda, case number SR2 2026. The applicant is Nick Madonia of Kimley Horn. The name of the site is Chase Bank, Hilldale Heights. The proposed use is a freestanding bank with ATM. Property is located at the southwest corner of Memorial Drive and Madison Street. It's extending south along Golf Club Lane, approximately 40 feet beyond its intersection with Old Ashland City Road. The acreage is approximately .75, zone C2 commercial, and it is within the city. On page 8, you'll see the aerial overview of the site. Pages 10 through 23 are the site and landscape plans, along with a few other extra pages. And finally, on page 24, you'll see a public comment that was presented. This was approved by the Common Design Review Board yesterday. You can see the department comments listed below, and then the staff recommendation is for approval subject to the 4 conditions listed. Approval of all utility plans by the city engineer's office. Approval of all grading, drainage, and water quality plans by the city street department to include road and sidewalk improvements as required. Minor plat completed and recorded. And finally, approval from CDE Light Band. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Okay, we'll go into public hearing. SR2 2026, is there anybody here in favor? Thank you. If you can give your name and address, please.
Yeah, Nick Madonia, Kimley Horn, 10 Leah Avenue. Just if y'all have any questions.
Do we have any questions? Thank you.
Thanks.
Is there anyone else in favor of SR2 2026? Is there anyone opposed to SR2 2026? If not, we're going to go ahead and close public hearing. Entertain a motion.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion properly second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you, commissioners. Our next case is case number SR32 2026. The applicant is Joe Sarah. Name of site is Sarah P. Ridge. It is the proposed use as a car dealership. Property is located east of and adjacent to the terminus of Delray Drive, northwest of and adjacent to the intersection of 101st Airborne Division Parkway and P. Ridge Road. It's approximately 15.80 acres. The zoning is C5 Highway and Arterial Commercial District and located within the city. If you'll go to page 52, you'll see the aerial overview of the site. Page 53 is the proposed site plan, and 54 is the landscape plan. And on the following page is the public comment that we've received. The staff recommendation is for approval, subject to the following 4 conditions. TVA right-of-way approval prior to final plat approval. Approval of all grading, drainage, and water quality plans by the city street department to include road and sidewalk improvements as required. In addition, the vehicle delivery entrance must meet adequate turning radius to accommodate truck ingress and egress as approved by the street department. Approval of all utility plans by the city engineer's office and utility district official. And finally, meet CDE requirements per CDE light band design at full cost to the developer. Thank you, commissioners. I'll answer any questions if you have any.
We have any questions? If not, we're going to go to public session. Is there anybody here speak in favor of? If you can give your name and address, please.
Houston Smith with TTL 2971 International Boulevard. I'm going to probably defer and let the opposition speak so I can respond to those. But if it's about traffic, this site's coming out at the new traffic signal on 101st at P Ridge Road. We have a turn lane coming into the main entrance. Drainage, everything drains internally to this site right now or off to the southeast toward the church through a big box culvert underneath P Ridge Road. We're going to maintain the same drainage patterns. A lot of water comes from the north through this site, which we'll have to take care of and slow everything down. All that'll be approved through the street department permit once we get through this process into the actual design of everything. So next steps of the permitting, and I can answer any questions you have now. If not, I'll respond to anything that's brought up.
Any questions? Thank you. Is there anyone else in favor of SR 32, 2026? Is there anybody who opposes SR 32, 2026?
Hello, Jimmy Brown, City Councilman, Ward 4, 512 Eason Road. Not so much opposed to the facility itself, but my concerns are the P Ridge Road traffic. I know there's some design about widening it to the first entrance for the car lot, but my understanding, probably the deliveries and the semis that are going to be coming in there will be coming into the second entrance. And there's no widening of that part of the road. And if you're running a semi down that road to deliver vehicles or parts or whatever, that's going to be tight. And then hopefully the trucks don't come in from Needmore roadside, because that would be even worse. But my concern is not having any widening done to the second entrance to where we can make that traffic, the trucks turn in a little bit better. I have spoken with Mr. Smith about this also, and so those are my concerns about getting in and out of there. Now, I do like that adding turning lanes at the light. I don't see that as much of a traffic issue. My concern is the semis coming in to make deliveries. So I'll answer any questions.
Do we have any questions?
My question won't be for him, it'll be for
Okay.
Mr. Smith in regards to what he stated.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else who's against this? Or opposed to?
My name is Billy Lang, 19 Love Street. We know we have drainage issues in that area. When I look at that site plan, I don't see anywhere where we're holding any water in other than in one front basin that runs down P Ridge to Needmore. So I think that's going to be a lot of water down there on that corner coming across through that church with that parking lot being that big. So I think they need to figure out a way to hold some of that water up, maybe underneath that parking lot that's going to run off that parking lot before it goes across that street. And the only reason why it bothers me is because that property sits at 512, my property sits at 510, which is, you wouldn't think that that water could get there. But we also know there's caverns that take the water in, and I have a basin right outside my front door that is lower than the basin that it's going to be going to. So for me, if it ever backs up, and I know Cal McKay had did a study on that area, so kind of concerns me a little bit. It's a big parking lot, whole lot of water going to that corner. You got another dealership at the bottom of the hill, and if you know Publix is putting all that water and all that development, I do know there is a way to hold up some of that water to go to that basin, but I think it's something we need to look at.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Thank you, Mr. Lane. Is there anybody else opposed? Mr. Smith, did you want to? Oh, wait, we got one more.
Very hesitant, yeah.
Well, thank you.
Steve Morgan, 550 Needmore Road. I'm the property owner beside the dealership, and don't underestimate the water that comes through there, because I get all the water that comes from Keystone, that development behind it, comes through me, and goes down to P Ridge, and all that comes from everywhere, comes to me. And that area on P Ridge is now floods. So recently they closed the road when we had the heavy rains. So I'm not against it. I'm just saying don't underestimate the water down there. But that's all.
Anybody have any questions for our gentleman?
Yeah.
Thank you. No, Mr. Smith.
I was looking at our conditions. There is a condition about widening up to the second entrance to get everything up to code, at least 12-foot lanes on each side up to the second entrance. So that is part of the approval with the conditions that were read. And yes, we are planning on doing some stormwater treatment underneath the parking lot, kind of right in the middle of the southern portion of it. There's an existing depression that we're trying to utilize to drain water into the subsurface and do some creative caverns underneath the parking lot and still be able to utilize that area. Since it is a parking lot, it doesn't need special loading for the building. So we think we'll be able to utilize that area. Also some pretty good sized areas out in front to catch water, slow it down, and send it across the road. If there was anything I missed, please let me know and I can try to answer it.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Smith? Mr. Smith?
That's throwing me off with the Mr. Smith, this Mr. Smith.
Oh.
Nope, the first, the one that's up there. Got Cal, Smiths, everything. And I apologize, you may have just spoke to it. I was really trying to delve into a little bit of this with what was said, but I do know that what was said in regards to the water runoff. I still remember when this came up for a rezoning previously a few years ago, and it did fail. And I know that we had gotten overloaded with pictures showing us of a lot of the water that comes over there. And I know that too from my grandmother's house was right across from Pea Ridge on Needmore way back in the day. So I know a lot of water funneled through there and would come down to this area. And again, you may have just said it. I was trying to read. I was looking at some of the different conditions on that. But how is it that we can be assured that's not going to? Again, as was mentioned, this is try to put in a whole lot of concrete in there.
Right. We are doing some underground stormwater areas within the parking lot to hold some of the water so it doesn't leave the site. We'll also be adding some pretty good sized areas to slow water down on the site before it even gets to the Pea Ridge crossing. We got 2 spots where we can hold water to begin to slow it down. During the permitting process where we do the grading permit, we'll have to prove those calculations. If it has to slide back a little bit to make everything bigger, we've got the space to scoot everything further off Pea Ridge Road to make the size work for the stormwater to where we're not going to be overtopping and we can hold what comes to us. Because like you said, there is a lot of water that comes from the north onto this site. So we are anticipating that multiple areas on the site where we're going to try to catch and treat it, and ultimately the review and approval will come through the street department to prove that we did do it correctly.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. Is there no further questions? We're going to go ahead and close public hearing. Okay, and we have a request for a Mr. Smith. Sir?
You.
Thank you.
That Mr. David Smith.
Yeah,
Not that Mr. David Smith.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Smith, in regards to what Councilman Brown referenced regarding the improvements to the road itself, to Pea Ridge, I know that it was stated that the condition is on here that it may be, sorry, I'm flipping back and forth between all of it.
12 foot in both directions, which it is not now.
It says it may require improvements, 12-foot travel lanes on Pea Ridge, the length of construction.
So there's kind of 2 comments in there. The first one would be maybe improvements, and the comments they came back with, or the improvement they came back with, was adding the lane up to the first entrance. And then our requirement were, based on, Mr. Brown gave me a call and said, hey, I have a concern about this, and we carried that forward as well with the 2-foot travel lanes, the length of the project. So there are 2 different elements there.
Well, it seemed to me like he was still concerned, though, with that, because, as he stated, you're not doing any widening kind of where those are. And knowing that Pea Ridge is kind of a small road along there, and I agree with him, I would hope they would not be coming from Needmore. But you're talking about the almost half of Pea Ridge Road, that stretch of it. It seems like that would have been something to go ahead and consider and allow for that improvement.
It will be. No, the 2 12-foot travel lanes carries all the way to the north span past the second driveway. It only widens the 3 lanes at that customer entrance where we really are going to see those peak AM, peak PM ingress and egress movements. So the deliveries and whatnot, and the kind of the, if you will, the maintenance access to the rear of the property, that won't have the trips. The trip generation's not there for that.
True, but it's going to have the, like I said, much bigger vehicles
It will.
turning
It
in
will.
there.
So I think we've got an average of 18 to almost 19 foot, and they're going to have to grow that to 24 foot P ridge all the way across this property. So there will be significant widening that occurs on that shoulder.
Commissioner Streetman, if I may add to avoid some confusion here, the current condition just states that the street department wants adequate radius and widening out there. I think if we just, when we make the motion here, that you clarify that widening is to a minimum of 24 foot per street department approval, I think that will clarify that motion for the floor.
Okay, that works. And Mr. Smith, just so you're aware, I know you're not usually here at these.
Sure.
Anytime one of our council members comes up, I know they're speaking on behalf of their area, and as the city council appointee, I always try to really listen to them and be their voice.
Absolutely.
As their representative.
I'm going to go see Mr. Tindall really quick on this.
Thank you.
I think the hang-up was the word may.
It was the word may.
Okay. Sure.
No sweat.
Is there any more questions for Mr. Smith? Okay, any more comments? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion for approval with the updated condition. If you could repeat that for me, please, sir.
Proper motion would be to make a motion subject to the staff's recommendation and to require improvement of a minimum of 12-foot travel lanes on P Ridge Road.
Okay, thank you.
Have a motion?
Second.
Have a motion properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion is passed.
Okay.
I
Commissioner.
think- Oh, no, there's one more.
One more.
My,
One more.
my notes are taking over here. There's always one more.
There's one more. Case number SR 35 2026. The applicant is Chris Blackwell. The name of the site is Liberty Storage Expansion. This is again a proposed use of self-storage expansion. The property is located at the northwest corner. If my thing would work with me. Northwest corner of the intersection of Dover Road and Butts Drive. The property is zoned C5, which is Highway Arterial Commercial, and it is in the UGB portion of the growth plan. On page 68, you'll see the aerial overview of the site. Page 69 is the site plan, and page 70 is the landscape plan. On pages 71 through 81, you'll see several public comments received, and we can allow the commissioners a couple of minutes to look over that if you'd prefer.
Okay, are there any questions for Fred? If not, we're going to go ahead and move into closed hearing. Thank you. We're going to move into public hearing. Thank you.
Cal McKay Merchant Company, 1545 Madison Street. Not sure what the objections are, but this site was fully approved back in 2022, I think, through all the departments and Planning Commission for site plan approval for 3 buildings. We're back here asking for approval again because all of his approvals expired, and he's got a different layout. We got 2 buildings, but roughly around the same amount of square footage. But I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, do we have anybody else in favor of this SR 35?
Chris Blackwell's here, the owner, if y'all have any questions for him.
Okay. Anybody else in agreement with SR 35 2026? Anybody oppose SR 35 2026? Okay.
My name is Bo Jensen. I live at 838 Butts Drive. My main concerns, I have 3 main concerns. Number 1 is the security of the business. And this isn't against Mr. Blackwell. I support business and I support Mr. Blackwell's desire to expand his business. However, I live there and we have currently, as the storage units sit, we have constant traffic that enters through our 1-lane Butts Drive. They're not entering in through the widened section at the beginning of Butts Drive. So we constantly have traffic in and out of the property as it sits on the back side of that property, which creates where people gather there and do nefarious things late at night. I have young children that travel from my residence at 838 Butts Drive all the way to my mom's residence at 825 Butts Drive. I appreciate, I've seen the site plan updated multiple times. I appreciate Mr. Blackwell's people that have increased the landscaping there. I know this is an added expense to Mr. Blackwell, but I would just ask if it's possible if we could have some type of perimeter fencing around the property that would keep people from accessing that property and, for lack of a better term, loitering. And they do it all hours of the night. And my mom is 70s, in her early 70s. She's constantly worried about the traffic that comes in and out of there, how it's affecting her. That's a concern. So 1, it's the access from the 1 lane. I know I'm probably getting close to my time, but it's a narrow road. It's about 13 feet wide, the access. I don't think landscaping is going to prevent that access from vehicles because they're already using the access they're using the grass to enter that property. And so my second concern would be, I see it says a drainage on the north side of that property into 830 Butts Drive, which directly affects my property with water drainage. So I don't know if there's going to be a berm that's going to be created on the north side of that property that would keep water drainage from going that direction. And then, what was my third? I can't remember what my third one was. Sorry. I think it was mainly security, keeping people, I think those were my main concerns.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you coming to oppose? Okay. If I can get your name and address, please.
My name is Alexis Monday, and I live on 830 Butts Drive. So me and my wife were a small military family. I'm opposing this just because we've seen a lot of cars come in and out, and right now there's a van that's been come in. I don't believe that they have a storage unit there, but they've been just sitting there doing God knows what, but they've been throwing trash there. So there's no type of security. I'm also worried about like the fence. So there's no fence. There's only landscape. So I'm also worried about that just because we're always outside. We have 4 dogs. We're outside every single day. So I'm worried about the security and just not having any privacy in our home. So.
Okay. Do you want to have a rebuttal?
I can't speak to the fence, but the drainage, yeah, we're cutting it off. Our original plan 4 years ago, we were draining it to the north. Now we're cutting it off, and it's going to go into the roadside ditch along Butts Drive.
Mr. McKay, and I'll address Mr. Blackwell from here as well. The original approval only had one driveway, the driveway where it's widened for the 2 to 3 lanes up closer to Dover Road. It sounds like over time, some customers may have started to add a second access maybe further back informally. Is there a way to maybe ditch that or something, or cut that off so that people aren't making an informal access to the rear of the property?
I'll leave that up to Mr. Blackwell to answer.
Yeah, Mr. Black, if he could come and address that. I think sounds like a lot of the concerns of the 2 residents here today is that when this was originally approved, if I remember, it had to be widened through the entrances, but then it was agreed to have just the singular entrance at the front of the property, not the back of the property. But again, I think customers are making an entrance out there.
They are. Chris Blackwell, 2091 Bend Road. They are. We can ditch that. I think with heavy landscaping there, we'll stop that.
Okay.
But we will make improvements to stop any extra loitering over there.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Blackwell, would you consider a fence?
I'll ask that too.
Where they live on the north side, I would not be opposed to like maybe a privacy fence to block the view from them on that side. But like the landscape plan that we've designed down Butts Road, I think it takes care of any extra pull-offs in there.
I'm sure they would appreciate it. I think someone else has a question.
Go ahead.
Good.
My question would be in regard to that, because he talked about the landscape plan. If he did a fence there instead, would he be able to could they trade that off with some of the landscape plan that they have along there?
No opaque fence in the front yard.
Otherwise, he's doing 2 things.
I think there can be a combination of
Too many.
Try that again. I think that the landscape ordinance allows a mix of fencing and buffering of trees. So I think that that can be accommodated through the landscape.
And that can be worked out with you guys versus it having to come back here again.
If that's how the commission prefers, yes, ma'am.
Does that work for you, as what you just talked about along there?
You talking about Butts Lane, or are we just talking about the north side blocking his property on
The north side where they were having issues with it, and for the benefit,
the back?
Sorry about that. I was trying to track you. Whereas that would try and, help with that situation there.
Sure,
But
I
not
think
having to, like I said, being it.
I think blocking the view from them and then the heavy landscape, and I don't think nobody else is going to pull off and make another entrance in. It would make them go to the single entrance that's there.
Which is up front, correct?
That's correct.
If you didn't have to do the heavy landscaping, if you could work out something with them, would it be feasible to add the fence then if they docked some of the required landscaping?
Sure, but I just want to be clear. You're talking about along Butts Lane?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know
Where
if
they're having the issues where they're...
Yeah, I'm not sure the codes on the fences, how close they have to be. So I'm not, I would, I just don't know if they're going to allow it.
Would Mr. Tyndall?
Oh, I got to turn it on.
All right.
Mr. Tyndall, is there a way to do the fencing instead of the foliage?
Without getting very specific on the condition now, we can condition it. You can approve it subject to maybe sending back a landscape plan next month that you all get to review, or let staff review it. It's up to you all, I think.
Yeah, there's other factors to consider. You can require a privacy fence as part of the development, and you can reduce some of the landscaping. But I do recall being asked a question by the planner who reviewed this, that because some of this is adjacent to a right-of-way, then you start getting into site distance, things of that nature that have to be factored in. So it's really difficult for them to operate in flux, and in turn, it's difficult for us to operate in flux because we don't know what all you guys are truly thinking as individuals. So I just think it'd be more appropriate to approve this. If you're comfortable with the building layout and those type of things, we can work to get in a plan that we can agree on to bring back to you next month. I think that's the safest way to handle that.
And again, I'm not saying we were required. I'm just asking if it would be feasible from a monetary standpoint to his benefit. So
there
if
are
we
some
approved it, we
allowances.
could still discuss, y'all could still discuss that.
Yeah, there are some allowances for privacy fence, and it does reduce some of the planning buffering. So
I just feel real confident of the Butts Lane, another access that somebody's making back there. That will be fixed. I'm not worried about that at all.
Are there any more questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and close public hearing.
Motion for approval.
We have a motion. Second. Properly second. All in favor? Aye. Motion is carried. Thank you all so much.
What was the name?
One nay? One nay.
Unless we can go with the other provisions. And I don't know how to do that in this form.
All right, Commissioners, a couple other pieces of other business, some things we don't often do here. The first up is the extension request for the Black Oaks PUD Z50 2023. Oh, sorry.
We've got something on the floor. Sorry.
Without objection, because I do have another meeting that I need to get to, could we move up the item F to the top part of this agenda?
Absolutely. We're getting a little close to the Finance Committee, aren't we?
Yep.
Yes. Chairwoman, without objection.
Without objection.
Okay,
Let's
we'll go to item F on your agenda. There is initiate a city zoning ordinance change with regard to vape shops and tobacco stores and add conditions to such uses. There's been some discussion with Council Member Streetman as a city council member and myself about how to do this properly through the city code. After talking to the city attorney's office, they felt that being in the zoning ordinance is the appropriate place. This is something we can bring back next month, is just update the use chart. There are, right now it's just under tobacco stores in general, add a couple conditions, be similar to liquor stores on distances to different uses and from each other. So we'll bring it back in an ordinance package next month on that, but we will have to have she'll make a motion to initiate it. You can all discuss it and then approve it to start that process.
And also it was to, as we discussed, potentially changing the zoning categories it can currently go into. I make a motion to initiate a city zoning ordinance change with regard to vape shops / tobacco stores and add conditions to such uses. And then before we vote, I do want to ask, I don't know since it's not on the agenda and it was too late at this point, but I did talk with Commissioner Harper for the county, and he had said that he would be interested in potentially looking at something as well for the county. Would it be possible to reference that here and allow you to work with him and potentially Regional Planning Commissioner Smith, or am I out of order as the city council person asking for something for the county?
I don't love adding things that aren't on other business. What I would say is have Commissioner Harper write me an email.
Okay.
Lucky thing for them is they do it in one reading, so technically you could both be on the same schedule for your second reading and their first reading on the same month with very similar language, and we'll just make a second motion next month under other business to do the same thing for the county as you're also voting on the first reading for the city here.
Okay, and like I said, I wasn't sure with it already being on there if there was any way to do it. It was just a
I know this came
conversation
up
that we
pretty
had.
late in the month, yeah.
It did. So, okay, thank you.
So we have a motion?
You have a second.
We have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Motion passed.
All right, that crosses off letter F. We'll go back to letter A, extension request for the Black Oaks PUD Z50 2023. Mr. Speenhauer.
Yeah, I'll speak to this. First of all, we do have Mr. Crawford here that represents the Christian Innovation Enterprises. I appreciate your patience. The agendas are not normally this long, but what you have in front of you is a detailed report. The original PUD plan that was approved under Z50 2023 has a 24-month deadline to reconsider. I can speak to the fact that we've had multiple discussions and meetings with Mr. Crawford, who represents the Christian Innovative Enterprises Project, which is the Black Oaks PUD, and they have respectfully asked to extend this from 11/2/2025 through 11/2/2027. And if there's any questions, I can try to answer them, or Mr. Crawford's here to speak to that, but we have no objection and are actually recommending approval of this.
He has an opportunity to speak.
Yeah. Would you like to speak? Okay. If there's any questions. We do need a motion, and this will go in the file as a formal document for them to know that this project's still under extension.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion. We have a motion properly second. All in favor? Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next item that's page 2, 3, and 4, and 5 are the monthly P&L report for the Planning Commission. I'll be happy to answer any other questions and ask for your approval of that.
Motion for approval.
Got a motion properly second. All in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you. All right, page 6, and for the next 100 pages is a red line copy of the current subdivision regulations. And I got my notes here on my phone. This was sent out earlier this month to the engineers in the community, subdividers and developers, as well as discussed with the Land Development Advisory Committee and with you all on Friday, as well as brought up at the department review meeting. And just give me a second here. Of course, when I closed my phone, it went away. All right. There's really a couple different things here. So Chapter 7 is currently the bonding chapter. We're removing that for now. We're going to work on that this summer. It needs a lot of work to get it up to some legal snuff, and we're going to work with the city and the county legal departments to get it to where they're both happy. We've had 3 bonds in the last 18 months. We didn't have any prior to that. So it's not something we typically do here in the development process. If something does come up in the next 2 months where a bond has to happen sooner than later, we will obviously accelerate that, but I anticipate this summer bringing back a more polished up Chapter 7. I didn't want to delay the other changes just for that. Really, the first 2 changes, and the reason we did this in the first place, not just to get rid of the bonding, but was to address 2 state law changes that happened in the last year and a half. One was for updating of the platting requirements to match the state law of no more than 25 lots for a final, or no more than 5 if it's a preliminary, straight to a final when there's no infrastructure needs. So we had to update the regulations, and that's per those resolutions you heard earlier last month. They went through the city and the county. And then update the documents to read Clarksville, Montgomery County. We also clarified everywhere it said Planning Commission, Commission, staff, et cetera, to just read RPC. There's also a state law. We had to put a line in about rational nexus of improvements. That was done on page 9. We clarified what is needed for a variance application. The engineers have been kind enough, I'll say, to provide us with engineering exhibits when we have variances. We're just now requiring that exhibit instead of just asking for it. We updated the definition of lot depth, which will help odd-shaped lots, similar to that one you saw in Fantasy Lane today. Added a provision that the Planning Commission, in consultation with the Street Department or County Highway Department, can require traffic calming on long straight roads and new subdivisions, and updated section 4.1.2 to make it clear that private roads can no longer cut off connectivity of public roads, only affecting new approvals here on out. I'll happy to answer any question, and this does require a public hearing.
Okay, we're going to move it to public hearing.
No, really. Okay, so I have. Has it been 3 minutes? Wow. Yeah, wow.
Please state your name and
Blacked
address,
out.
please, sir.
David Smith. We'll go with 199 10th Street because that's what I'm representing. The bonding stuff. The only issue I have with the bonding stuff is our ability to bond, and maybe even Gas and Waters and certainly Building Codes Department to accept bonds for work that can't be complete, whether it's seasonal, paving over the wintertime, landscaping over the wintertime, that sort of stuff. We allow a bond in lieu of or a check or any of these things. And in the past, when there's been issues with letters of credit and that sort of stuff, to pull that ability while we're working on it, I guess my question is, what do we do in the meantime? Because development doesn't stop. And if that process takes 5-6 months, whatever the case is, that's the only place that our ability to collect or to accept a bond is referenced in the subdivision regs. We don't presently have some of that stuff in city ordinance. Now, we can add it to city ordinance, and it probably ought to be in city ordinance as well, but it's not presently. So that puts us into a bit of a pinch. Just want to put it on the radar, if you will.
Yeah, and it will accelerate this. We had discussed this slightly with Sonny. I did ask Sonny and you, though. I wish I knew before.
We did.
Before the public hearing, I definitely would have discussed
Well,
this.
we were
with
waiting
you
on the city
earlier this
attorney
week.
for a response on this.
I understand
how that goes.
I am not sure, and again, I disagree with the city attorney, that this is what you're doing now isn't really covered in Chapter 7. It's kind of covered, could be stronger, but when you're talking about the top coating of a road, this is more about completion of a road prior to final platting.
Yeah.
So if the concern is you don't get to do this, I would say to the commission, leave Chapter 7 in for now, but I don't think we should accept any new bonds for final plats. I don't think this is adequate to help us do that. If it's what you need to get a topping bond, and if it's what the attorney has said, is that this is your only leverage, I would just say at this point, leave Chapter 7 in, but we're not going to, we as a planning commission, I don't think we're under obligation to allow for a final plat to be completed by bond. Again, it is at the favor of the planning commission to bond, not an automatic thing. It's an option.
Mr. Bittner's reference was to ask the planning commission to leave it in for now until. But again, I get it. There's complications with that as well.
So he would rather leave it in, work with us on the language, and or probably put it in city code.
Correct.
For maintenance.
Well, with respect, I'd rather it be in city code because if we need to change it, or simply a reference that we're going to have a bonding practice and it's rather a policy, because, I mean, what's the cost of the bond per linear foot of sidewalk? Well, obviously that varies quite a bit, and it's been a set value for so long, it's no longer indicative.
I see this as a performance bond, like do you perform the action versus what you're looking at is a maintenance bond, which is a very different animal.
Right.
Is what you're doing going to maintain itself for 2+ years. So, okay, with what Mr. Smith said, once we close public hearing, if the commission desires, you can make a motion to accept the changes with the exception of do not delete Chapter 7 bonding.
Please and thank you.
Is there anyone else want to speak on this issue?
What's 3 more minutes, Joe?
I'll keep it short. Joe Van Dusen, 3214 Quincy Lane. I like that there's traffic calming being baked into the subdivision regulations. I think is really required for increasing the safety of our roads. I'm a big proponent of kids being able to actually exist in the places that they live instead of being able to be, instead of forced into just their backyards. So that's all I'd like to say on that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to close the public hearing. We have a motion?
Make a motion to dismiss?
No, not quite yet, Mr. Long. We got to approve the subdivision regulation change first.
I make a motion for approval, excluding Chapter 7.
There you go. Thank you.
I have a motion.
Second.
Motion properly second. All in favor? Aye. Motion is passed.
Okay. Next is a bond release, letter D, the flats, S109 2021. Mr. Parker, in the interest of time, is this our last bond that we're holding, right? Yes, for an alleyway on the flats. There's the picture. Everything's been installed. We have the letter from the engineer. It formally has to be released by the Planning Commission. Just need a motion for release.
Motion for?
Make a motion for release.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion's passed.
And then we did defer the budget. We did not have a quorum for the executive meeting yesterday, so we will hear the budget next month. Besides that, public comments, yes. Then we
Are
can
there any
adjourn.
public comments? All righty, I'll entertain a motion to
I'll make a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you
All in
all.
favor?
Aye.